Yo, this is the Scarcity Studios YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And our sponsors are Alpha Claims and Hire Birmingham, the leading and best accident management company. Get a replacement car anywhere in 1 hour. I really appreciate you joining me today, and this is an update in relation to news from London and elsewhere. Thank you to everybody that shares the videos every single day. YouTube will not advertise on 90% of our videos, and they are usually deranked as well, so it literally depends on you to share the video in order to get the stories that matter out there. The first story in this episode is about a total of 10 people that have been arrested in what police have described as a criminal gang that was conspiring to possess a firearm after warrants were carried out in London, Essex and Kent. In the early hours of Wednesday the 3rd of March, 350 officers from the Metropolitan Police Service, Essex Police and Kent Police executed 11 firearm warrants as part of a joint operation against a number of suspects involved in renting a firearm to be used in revenge gang attacks. That seems like a lot of police to 10 arrests. That's about 35 police for each arrest. But that must show the serious nature of it. And also what I noticed was how specific it is as well, where they say that it was in relation to revenge attacks. They said 4 dogs trained to find firearms were on the operation too. And Detective Superintendent Paul Travers said, following a number of violent incidents in East London, officers from the gang unit have meticulously pulled this operation together, which has taken months of hard work and dedication. It is called Operation Wordwell, and it started in September 2020, following a number of shootings and stabbings in Barking, East London. They linked some of the offences, and officers believed that a criminal gang were responsible for planning violent attacks on individuals and making pre-planned attacks on other occasions. They executed the arrests to try to stop the criminal gangs from becoming involved in the use of lethal firearms. The police later go on to say that they used proactive and reactive policing tactics to secure evidence of the gang agreeing to split the cost of obtaining a firearm, and they were looking for potential victims. And that one line on its own seems very vague. It seems almost like they're not giving away the details as to how they obtained the information to be able to find out that these people were trying to get this firearm on rent. This looks like they've sort of intercepted messages, but there's no sort of mention of EncroChat. They say a total of 10 people aged between 16 and 20 years old have been arrested in relation to these offences, and these are conspiracy to possess a firearm and intent to endanger life and conspiracy to commit GBH. So that means they found no firearms, and this must be based solely on evidence that they've gathered using their proactive methods, which they won't explain. And that is the majority of the case, and they are continuing to search the premises to try and find any more firearms. Specialist firearms officers from the Metropolitan Police, Essex Police, carried out the raid supported by armed police. They said this is another part of the operation to target violent offenders, and we hope it goes some way to reassure people in the east of London that we are doing our best to combat gang violence. And in some other news from East London as well, there's a separate operation the police are doing at the moment called Operation Continuum. A further 16 people have been arrested in that one, in the Tower Hamlets and Hackney area on the same day as this other one. This operation has been going on since March 2020, and they've made 145 arrests in relation to the gangs that they're trying to infiltrate. Officers seized £13,000 in money and also multiple wraps of Class A drugs from 4 of the addresses. They said they arrested 16 people aged between 18 and 53 on suspicion with intent to supply Class A drugs. All of those arrested were in custody in East London police stations.
So today in Tower Hamlets, 21 addresses had warrants executed at them. A large number of police officers, 150 or so, were engaged in those raids. We've arrested 16 people and recovered significant quantities of cash, drugs and paraphernalia associated with drug supply.
In the past year, they said, this operation has continued to take down drug-related criminality in the east of London. They say the operation has been responsible for 12 people getting a total of 22 years in prison for their cases. And the ongoing operation in Tower Hamlets has been going on since 2019 in an attempt to cut down on drug supply in the area. Since March 2020, they say this operation has executed 103 search warrants, 145 arrests relating to drugs, 122 people have been charged. Total number of charges to 259. Approximately 1,600 officers have been involved in the operation in the past year, and Detective Superintendent Mike Hammer said, "Continuum is here to stay, and we will be doing more to try to stop drug dealers in the area, and we will continue with the raids in the future, and we will do our best to get convictions for these crimes." So London police have definitely been very active, and this is the same as the National Crime Agency in relation to arrests that took place today across the whole of the UK, starting in Birmingham and some in Reading, Blackburn, Sunderland and London as well. They said this was an 8-month investigation as part of a way to take down an organised crime group from the Western Balkans of Europe. This is their way of saying Albanian gangs, and they later in the article go on to confirm that. They say 100 officers from the National Crime Agency on Wednesday the 3rd of March were involved in nationwide UK raids of an organised crime group. 20 people were arrested in different cities across the country in an 8-month investigation led by Thames Valley Police and the National Crime Agency.
Transport.
Yep, waiting.
They were involved in the supply of drugs, fraud, money laundering, modern slavery and cannabis cultivation. One of the suspects, a 36-year-old man, was arrested by NCA on the Persia Road in Birmingham on suspicion of conspiracy to produce Class B drugs, which would be cannabis. The NCA led raids on locations in the northwest and northeast of England and also London as well. 2 arrests were made by NCA officers in Sunderland, where 2 cannabis factories were found in operation. Further cannabis factory was found in Southgate, North London, where 2 Albanian nationals were arrested, and another arrest was made at a location in Blackburn, where investigators found premises they think was used for the production of cannabis. They had dog handlers and forensic officers and have worked alongside colleagues from the Southern Organised Crime Unit in the investigation. Andrea Wilson from the NCA said, "Today's activities highlight how serious we are taking the threat from the Western Balkan region and organised crime groups that are coming from there. The serious criminality, trafficking and supply of Class A drugs, illegal immigration, crime and corruption is something we will not stand for. Targeting these networks requires a whole system of law enforcement to approach them to deal with these organised crime groups, and the NCA will do their best with other organisations to prevent them growing in the UK." And in some other news as well, coming from London again, police found 2 Scorpion machine guns and 40 rounds of ammunition after Met police officers arrested a 19-year-old near Chiswick Park tube station. The man was arrested on suspicion of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life and possession of ammunition in the early hours of Tuesday morning on the 2nd of March. He has been taken to a West London police station where he remains in custody. The arrest, they said, was part of an operation by Metropolitan Police in the local area to try to prevent firearms being used. The machine gun and ammunition could have been used in 2 different occasions, and this highlights the severity of firearms on the streets of the cities. And 3 men have been arrested and a woman by Metropolitan Police after 10 kilos of cocaine with an estimated street value of $500,000 was found on Monday, the 1st of March. As part of an ongoing operation, they said, to battle drugs in the Kent and South East area. One of the men arrested was leaving an address in the Bromley area and meeting another man in a white van, and both of them were detained by police and then they searched the properties. They were aged between 26 and 42 and were charged in relation to the supply of Class A drugs, namely cocaine. It's been madness on the streets of North London at the moment. I really want to hear what people have to say on these stories. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Peace.